Welcome to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. This podcast is dedicated to EAS employees of the U.S. Postal Service and members of the National Association of Postal Supervisors. So, pour yourself a cup of coffee and join us for today's episode. And now, here's your host, Robert Wakefield.
Good morning, Branch 32, and good morning to all of our EAS friends across the country. Welcome to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast presented by the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. I'm your host. That's right, the hostess with the mostest. I'm Robert Wakefield, president of Branch 32. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, got a great show lined up for you today, so hang out and go ahead and pour that first cup. Get ready, Nashville. It's time to celebrate with the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. On Tuesday, July the 16th, it's National Hot Dog Day. We're serving up free hot dog lunches from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. while supplies last. Come by, grab a bite, and enjoy the summer vibes. Then on Friday, July 25th, show some love for I Love My Credit Union Day. Snap a selfie, share it on our social media page with a caption telling us why you love the credit union, and you'll be entered for a $100 prize. Join us in celebrating food, fun, and community. Brought to you by the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. People helping people since 1925. And for our first cup today, we're going to talk about a subject that is near and dear to my heart, especially when I was working. It was my favorite thing, actually. It was my very favorite thing about working for the Postal Service. I loved it. I encourage you all to take advantage of it. It's the greatest thing ever. I'm talking about annual leave. Yeah, my favorite thing about working for the Postal Service was getting away from the Postal Service. You know what I'm saying? So I don't care if you're thinking of being on a beach chair, on a great beach, or just lounging around in a hammock in your backyard. You just need a few days to catch your breath, and annual leave is your ticket to do that. But, you know, like everything else in the Postal Service, we have a process, and we also have a way that we can mess that process up. So I'm going to be talking about all of that. But let's talk first about why annual leave matters. You're just going to start with some basics here. We all know this, but it's good as a refresher. It's good. Now, here we go. According to ELM 512.11, annual leave is provided for rest, recreation, and personal or emergency purposes. You know, it's not just a benefit, but it's a built-in safeguard for your well-being. I like that. That is exactly what it is. And so you need this time for yourself. So we all know how to do this, but let's talk about a few things. How do you take annual leave? Well, the first part is the PS Form 3971. We know it and we love it. It's your official request for or notification of absence. Now, you give that to your manager, well in advance if you can. Of course, emergencies happen. There are provisions provided for that. But planning ahead seems to give everyone a time to adjust. Now, here's the kicker. Did you know that you're supposed to get your 3971 back from your manager within 3 business days? That's right. You are supposed to get that back within 3 business days. As a matter of fact, this is a policy that's been in place since June 24th, 2002 by a man named DeWitt O. Harris. I have the policy here, and let me just read this to you, because I just not too long ago discovered that this letter was out there. National Association of Postal Supervisors President Vince Palladino has again expressed concern with unreasonable delays in processing leave requests submitted by supervisors. If this is happening in your area, we would appreciate you working with the operations managers to ensure that requests are handled in a timely manner. In instances where possible, please return the approved or disapproved PS 3971 request for or notification of absence to the supervisor within 3 business days. Did you hear that? 3 business days, not 3 weeks, or not whenever someone gets around to it. It's 3 business days. Now, why is that important? Well, pretty simple. If you're planning a trip overseas, you might need to make some plane reservations. Or maybe there'll be some hotel accommodations that you will need to be making. Or even better yet, you may need to get your passports. There's a tons of things that you have to do prior to going overseas for a vacation. Now, they can't wait 6 or 8 weeks before they give that back to you and let you know. They have 3 business days. So if your request is just sitting on someone's desk and you turned it in and it's been longer than 3 days, it's time to follow up. Do it nicely, of course, respectfully, but firmly. Because this is the policy of the Postal Service. This is not our rules. These are the Postal Service's rules. Because planning your time off should not be like pulling teeth. It's your time, and you should be able to take that. Okay, can I talk a little more about the 3971? It's time for a rant. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Rob Wakefield and the rant. I'll tell you what drives me crazy about the 3971s not being turned in back to you within 3 days is when they disapprove it, and their reason is needs of the service. Okay. That really makes me mad because that is not a leadership response. That's a cop-out. We could say that every single time when we refuse someone's leave. Oh, needs of the service, we're going to have you. So you mean to tell me 6 weeks from now, you know what's going to happen. Tell me more, USPS Nostradamus. Would love to hear what you've got to say. You see, when they disapprove your leave, which they can do, there could be some legitimate reasons. Other people could be off, whatever. I get that. But when they say needs of the service, and they don't tell you specifically what those needs are, then they're just not managing well, and they're not good managers. If there is an absolute reason why you cannot take your well-earned annual leave when you need to take it, then tell me what that reason is. Because needs of the service is not a reason. It's kind of like what we say when people turn in their sick leave, 3971s, and the doctor's note said, under my care. Well, we want to know exactly what's going on here, don't we? I think it's the same way with the leave slips. I hope that one day we can get that changed. So that concludes my mini rant there. All right, so let's talk a little bit about making this process smooth. How do you make sure you get the leave that you so deserve? What are some of the things that you can do to make it through this process? Here's some practical reasons to make it go right through. All right, are you ready? The first one is easy. Submit your 3971 as early as you can. As soon as you know that you're going to be taking a trip overseas, or you're going to be going to the beach, or you just need some time off, as soon as you can do that, be sure you submit it early. Now, here is something that people don't do, is keep a copy for yourself. It's a wonderful thing that was invented years ago called carbon paper. And it's a great thing, so make sure you make a copy yourself. And also, I always advise this. On the 3971, right, there's a block there that says time of call or request. You're already putting the date up there earlier. Write down what time you gave this to your supervisor. And do that every time. Because that's when the 3-day clock starts, in my opinion. Starts right when I give it to you. So write that down. Now, if you don't get a response within 3 business days, follow up. It's not nagging, it's postal policy. So do that. Follow up with it. Don't rely on verbal requests or emails alone. You know, you can't put a sticky note on your manager's desk and say, I'm going to be gone tomorrow. No, you can't do that. You've got to have the 3971 filled out. Also, it's also important to know what your carryover limit is so you don't lose any of your future annual leave. And it's just so important that you do those things. Annual leave is not just about taking time off. It's about honoring your own limits. And it's so important that you take care of yourself. We had a whole series on that. So I don't care if it's a long weekend or a full getaway, whatever it is, make it count. Know your rights, know your resources, and don't let your 3971 get lost in the shuffle. Now, remember, we talked about this earlier. If your request is denied without a valid reason, or if you're told to find your own replacement, which happens a lot, reach out to your local NAPS rep. You've earned that time, and you deserve clarity. All right. That will wrap up our first cup. Let's go ahead and pour that second cup. You know, banking should be made simple. That's why Ollie, the Nashville Post Office Credit Union's virtual assistant, is here, ready to help 24/7. Need quick answers? Ollie delivers secure, instant solutions right at your fingertips. No wait times, no hassle, just smart banking made easy. Whether you're managing your finances, exploring loan options, or just need guidance, Ollie is always ready to assist, wherever and whenever you need. The Nashville Post Office Credit Union, people helping people since 1925. And for our second cup today, I wanted to talk a little bit about an article that was sent to me by Branch 32 member Andy Bell. Andy is a regular listener of the program. Appreciate you sending that to me, Andy. And it talks about, where did we get the name Cup of Joe? Why do we call coffee a cup of Joe? Now, there's some theories out there. I'm going to share a few of these theories with you, and you can just make up your own mind. No one's 100% sure where the name came from, but there are theories. So here's theory number one, and it's Jamoke. Back in the 1930s, folks used the term Jamoke, which is a mashup of Java and Mocha, and they shortened it to Jamoke. Now, I have never ordered a cup of Jamoke in my life, but over time, Jamoke just got snipped down to Joe. So a cup of Joe might have just been a short way of ordering, a cup of coffee from a Greasy Spoon diner. There's no frills, nothing fancy, just warmth. I love coffee like that, don't you? The second theory is by the guy of his name is Josephus Daniels. He was a U.S. Navy secretary in 1914. And Daniels banned alcohol on all naval ships. And now, without booze on board, the sailors turn to coffee as their go-to pick-me-up. And some say the nickname Cup of Joe was born in protest because his name was Josephus. So, anyway, that's probably not where it came from, but it's an interesting theory anyway. Theory number 3 is that it's a rail yard theory. Picture this. You've got hobos, you got rail workers, you got vagabonds. I love saying vagabonds. Sharing stories and a tin mug of coffee around a campfire. It's that kind of image that makes you feel like it should be on a postcard, and a Cup of Joe was born. But that may not be it either. But here's the final theory right here, the average Joe. Maybe, just maybe, coffee's popularity among everyday people gave a rise to the phrase, in a natural way. The drink for the average Joe, the reliable Cup of Joe, the reliable coffee for the working class, those who get up early, those who go to the Postal Service at wee hours in the morning. Maybe it was a postal supervisor that came up with the Cup of Joe. I don't know. But anyway, here's an interesting little fun fact for you. The first time that Cup of Joe was used in print was in 1937 in a Virginia newspaper. So, there you have it. Cup of Joe. Who knew, right? Thank you, Andy, for sending that article to me. That was great. And thank you for listening to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast presented by the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. Now, you know what to do. I haven't heard from a branch in about 3 months. I'm serious. I have not heard from a branch anywhere in this country in about 3 months. So let me know where you're listening from. Let me know what your branch number is. Tell me what you want to hear, what you want me to talk about. I'll be glad to do that. So thanks so much for listening. I am Robert Wakefield, and remember, every great weekend starts with a great cup of Joe. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. Please note that the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Robert Wakefield and do not necessarily reflect the views of the National Association of Postal Supervisors. We welcome your questions and comments, so send those to SaturdayCupOfJoe@gmail.com.